What's up everyone, it's Sprometheus, and today I'm going to be making and talking about cold press espresso. And yes, I'm going to get this out of the way early. I understand that espresso is defined by using hot water, but
I'm a loner, Daddy. A rebel.
I don't know about you, but around here, summer is kicking in and my craving for coffee is keeping my kitchen pretty warm. For most people, this means it's cold brew season, but need I remind you?
God, I hate it.
So it's time to dial in and try out some of this famed cold press espresso. Now, obviously this isn't something that all espresso machines are capable of, so as you can see, I've put the Mini away for this one and pulled out my Flair Pro. For those not familiar with the Flair, it's a hand-pressed espresso machine, and it's great for creating reliably delicious espresso, plus having control of all the variables is pretty awesome. I've even used this to reproduce Scott Rao's Blooming High Extraction Espresso with pretty solid results. Dialing this in is basically the same as dialing in any other kind of espresso, but in an effort to be thorough, let's talk about the key points. Just like with all espresso, or really all coffee brewing applications, the key to your success is the grind. So with cold press espresso, you'll need to grind a little finer than your hot pulls. The reason for this is finer grinds, in theory, will extract a little better during the long pre-wet and final push. There seems to be a fine line though. It's easy to choke this one up, and if you do that,
you're gonna have a bad time.
When it comes to tamping on the Flair, it definitely requires a little more finesse than your standard tamping experience. Because of the slightly finer grind, it gets even more tricky. The depth of the basket will make up for the slightly less compact puck, so generally I push gently until I feel resistance of the puck pushing back. It doesn't take much, but if you add too little pressure, you won't be able to roll at a high enough pressure for long enough to get a proper extraction. Just like all other coffee brewing, water will end up being 98% of what comes out, so keep it filtered. In this case, I use the same water I put in my Mini, but the only difference is instead of it going into the boiler and getting heated up, I use the water straight from the refrigerator. One of the most important steps to the cold press espresso is the pre-wet. It's called a pre-wet because during this time, I don't apply any pressure, so it's not so much a pre-infusion. But this part is key to getting a flavorful shot because the cold water isn't as efficient at extracting the dissolved solids from the puck as hot water is, which is something we'll talk about a bit later, but I definitely would recommend keeping the pre-wet between 1 to 1.5 minutes. Once the pre-wet finishes, it's time to begin applying pressure. I aim to reach 7 to 10 bar relatively quickly and land within the 30 to 50 second pull. The first bit of the extraction will come out pretty quick, and it's very dark. This is the heart of the shot. 15 or so seconds later, you'll have the body, which looks lighter and thinner, and towards the end of the shot, you'll see crema or something that resembles crema begin to appear on the surface. But by that point, the stream will look basically like yellow water.
Nice.
I found it pretty interesting that even when produced with cold water, all of the layers of a traditional hot pull of espresso are clearly visible. The most interesting feature of the cold press espresso is the presence of a good amount of acidity. Think about cold brew, for example. There isn't much acidity to speak of, but likely because of the shorter brew time and the concentrated nature of espresso in general, it keeps some of this brightness intact. Taste-wise, it has some. There are some nice base notes down low, and like I mentioned, a surprising amount of acidity, but generally, I'd call it drinkable at best. The extraction percentage of the shots I made fell around an average of 15%, which isn't great. So it was decent on its own or over ice, but as a mixer for a flat Americano, an iced latte, an espresso tonic, it was pretty lackluster. Without the strength of at least an average extraction, it just falls short and can't really hold up to any competing flavor or dilution. In the end, it's okay. It's nothing to really get too excited about, and I wouldn't go out and buy a hand-pressed espresso machine purely for this option. There may be some ways to get a bit more extraction, maybe using a darker roast, but either way, there are better ice drink options out there like Japanese iced coffee, and I'd take a hot pull of espresso over this any day.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Let me know down below if you've had better luck with the cold press espresso, if you've had it and what your thoughts are on it, or what your favorite hot weather coffee drink is, and I'll see y'all next week. And a big thank you to my June Patreon supporters, Ads, James B, David, Hamad, Christopher, John K, Squeegee, Roe, Brian, Lisa, Thomas B, Andre, Rick Racer, Sean, Joey, Thomas S, Noel, Spookus, Found Coffee, Mika, Samantha, Nathan, Aiden, Jonathan, Claire, Steven, James K, Josh, Andrew, Ollie, Ninja Warrior Coffee, Testing 123, Horison, Bobby, Corey C, Curry, Dave B, Jerry, Marcus, Nicholas, Paul, RD, Tim, Matt, Tony, and of course Zachary V. And last but not least, big thanks to the barista and barback tiers. If you want any information on my Patreon, there's a link in the description and in the upper right hand corner right now. And lastly, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that little bell button for notifications of new videos posted every Friday. Follow my Instagram at Sprometheus, my blog at Sprometheus.com, my coffee at littlegiant.coffee, and as always, stay caffeinated. Pony Boy.